perfect prelude to my story because it's about a boy who was very naughty a great deal of the time. I think I told you last time about Jack killing those giants and cutting their heads off. Well, maybe you weren't here. That's too bad because that was a really gory story. But this one's about when Jack was, he was about 14. He was a freshman in high school. And he was failing Algebra 1, I'm sorry to say. And his daddy noticed last spring on his midterm report card that he had a D in algebra. What's more, he wouldn't load the dishwasher, he wouldn't do any laundry, he wouldn't split any firewood, he wouldn't pull any weeds, he wouldn't do anything around the house. His parents noticed this and took away his video games for a whole month. And not only that, they suspected that he was looking at internet porn, so they took away his phone. So Jack didn't have a phone and he couldn't play any video games. What's a boy to do? He had to run away. So the very next morning, when after his mother had gone to work and his daddy had gone out to the garden, he did not get on the school bus. He sneaked out the front door and he decided he was going to run away from home. He was going to run away to Gainesburg and get a job in a minute market. He was going to lie about his age. But he had to go on the back roads because the school bus driver might see him if he was on the main road. So he walked on and he walked on and he walked past a neighbor's pasture that had a bunch of cattle in it. And what should he see but a bull with his head hanging over the fence, and the bull was going, and Jack said, "What is the matter with you?" And the bull said, "Oh, I'm just too old to do my job anymore. There's not many calves anymore around here because I'm just too old. And they're going to kill me and get shed of me, and they're going to take my body to the meat packing place and have me made into hamburgers and minute steaks." And Jack said, "You don't have to put up with that. Come on down to the gate and I'll let you out and we'll go on down the road together." So Jack and the bull went down the road and they went on and they went on till they saw a mule, and the mule was going, "Hee-haw, hee-haw." And Jack said, "What's the matter with you?" And he said, "Oh, the boys took me up in the woods and they wanted to snake out some trees, and they hooked me up to a great big old poplar, and I couldn't hardly pull that poplar because I'm just so old and I'm just no use to anybody, and they say they're going to kill me and get shed of me." And Jack said, "You don't have to put up with that. Come down to the gate and I'll let you out." So the mule came out on the road and he said, "Hop up on my back, Jack." So Jack got up there and they went on down the road and they went on down and they went on down, and they saw a dog sitting in somebody's front yard and he's going, "Oh." Jack said, "What's the matter with you?" And he said, "Well, the boys took me out in the woods to the old coon, and then they cut down a tree that had a coon in it. And I got a hold of the coon all right, but my teeth fell out and the coon got away, and they said they're going to kill me to get shed of me." And Jack said, "You don't have to put up with that. You come on down the road with us." So the dog jumped up on the mule's back behind Jack, and down the road they went. And they went on, and finally they saw a cat. And the cat was going, "Meow." And Jack said, "What's the matter with you, cat?" And he said, "Well, I'm just getting too old to catch rats no more. I caught a whole one in the barn, but my teeth fell out and he got away, and they said they're going to kill me to get shed of me." Jack said, "You don't have to put up with that. Come on down the road with us." So the cat jumped up behind the dog and they went on down the road till they saw a rooster, and the rooster was going, "Arr, arr." "What's the matter with you?" "Oh, they say I'm too old to fight the other roosters anymore. When I fight the other roosters, I always lose. And I can't do any other of my jobs, so they say they're going to put me in a pie tomorrow." Jack said, "Oh, you don't have to put up with that. Come on down the road with us." So the rooster jumped up behind the cat, sort of grabbed on with his claws on the mule's tail, and hung on. So they went on down the road, and it started to get a little dark, and Jack said, "We need to find us a place to spend the night, like an old barn or an old abandoned house or something." So they turned up a gravel road, and they walked and they walked and they walked till it got plumb thick dark, and pretty soon they came to a trailer surrounded by a fence, and the light was off in the trailer. And Jack said, it looks like nobody's at home here. Maybe we can move in this trailer and spend the night. So the dog said, well, Jack, why don't you go in there and turn the light on for us before we come in. So Jack went in and he turned the light on. As soon as he turned the light on, he saw on a table in the trailer, the table was covered with guns and ammo and an Xbox and all kinds of games and a lot of prescription pain medicine and a bucket of fried chicken and a chainsaw. And I forgot to say there was a four-wheeler in the front yard with keys in it. And the dog said, it's my opinion that a gang of robbers lives at this trailer, and this is all their loot that they've stolen from people over the last few weeks. And the cat said, I think you're absolutely right, and if that's the case, we better get fixed for a fight, because the robbers are going to come back any minute. It lacks about an hour till midnight. So the ox said, I'm going to take my stand out in the yard. And the mule said, I'm going to stand on the porch here. And the dog said, I'm going to get behind the door here. And the chicken said, flew up on the roof. The rooster flew up on the roof. And the cat sat on the kitchen table, and Jack looked at one of the guns, checked to make sure it was loaded, and sat in a chair right next to the kitchen table. And they waited for the robbers to come. It didn't take them long. The robbers, there were 7 robbers, and they came up to the gate, and one of them said, Bubba, you go in there and turn that light on for us so we can see to bring all our new loot in there. So Bubba walked up there, opened the door, and he had his hand right next to the switch, but before he could reach the switch, the cat flew off the table and scratched him down in front of his cheeks. And then Jack went blam, 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 blam. And then he ran out the door, and the dog came out from behind the door and bit him on the leg. And then he ran out on the porch, and the mule reared up and kicked him in the head and kicked him out into the yard. And the bull picked him up by the horns and carried him to the gate and threw him over, and he just lay there. And the other 6 robbers took off into the weeds. And Bubba picked himself up and he ran after the other robbers. And he said, oh, I'm killed, I'm not going to live 15 minutes. And the robber said, well, before you die, tell us what happened in there. He said, well, as soon as I reached out to get the light switch, a man came flying at me with 2 ice picks and scratched me all over my face. And then another man fired a gun, and there was a man with a butcher knife behind the door, and he stabbed me in the leg over and over. And then I ran out on the porch, and there was a man with a splitting maul out there, and he hit me in the head with a splitting maul. And then when the time I got out in the yard, there was a man with a pitchfork, and he picked me up and he threw me over the gate. And I just don't think I'm going to survive. And the other robber said, that's the baddest group of men in there I've ever heard of. I think we just better leave this county altogether and go over to Overton County. We just can't even stay in Jackson County anymore. So the robbers ran over to Overton County and had to find a whole new trailer to keep their stuff. But Jack and his friends just stayed at that trailer for a whole week. It was the best week of Jack's entire life. They rode that four-wheeler all they wanted to. They played video games till their eyeballs were quivering like this. They shot all the guns until they ran out of ammo. And the old animals took all the pain medicine until all of it was gone. And then Jack went home to his mother. And the last time I saw Jack, he was out in the yard splitting some wood, and he had passed his last algebra test. That's the end.